Hello, everyone. I'm Nikki Simrat, the director of Hill Center Galleries, and I'm very pleased to welcome all of you to this conversation between Claude Elliott, the juror of Hill Center's 2022 Regional Juried Exhibition, and the three artists who have been selected to receive the first, second, and third place awards for this extraordinary exhibit. This is the 11th annual regional exhibit at Hill Center Galleries, and we are honored to have the opportunity to present the work of 118 artists this year. From the moment that Hill Center opened in 2011, we've been determined to bring in artists from every part of our city and our region, and it's been a joy to be part of this process. We fill our galleries throughout the year with group and solo shows, and if you're interested in being considered for a solo show, you can simply apply by filling out and submitting the form on our website. It's my pleasure now to introduce our distinguished juror, Claude Elliott. Claude has had a world of experience as a curator, a grants administrator, a deputy director of STEP Africa, and very much more. What I have come to know about Claude is his deep interest in the artists and their work and what their process is. This conversation is going to be fun. Take it away, Claude.
Thank you, Nikki. I also want to thank the Hill Center for this opportunity to jury this competition. For me, it's a great way for me to meet new artists and to continue what I consider as a personal passion in terms of advocating for ongoing opportunity for artists. More so, I want to thank all the artists who submitted for the competition. As Nikki said, there were over 700 images, and there were from 157 artists. So you can see it was a very competitive process, a very daunting, but a very exciting task for me. So first of all, I want to congratulate the 18 artists in the exhibition. For me, you're all winners. And let's start with, I wanted to show the images of the 5 honorable mentions and to introduce their names and the title of the works. So Evelyn, if you can show those, please. Okay. So in no particular, I believe this is in an alphabetical order. So the first painting is by Sing Sing Fung. And excuse me if I mispronounce anybody's names. The painting is an oil painting on canvas and is entitled Hung Shan. The second one we're going to look at is a painting. It's an oil painting by Jill Finson, and it's called Approximately 63 Horses and a Cow. The third painting is by Mandy Keener. Into the Sky is acrylic on canvas. Next. This is a photograph by Glenn Strachan entitled Stormy Aftermath on the Mogothi River. And the last honorable mention is an inkjet print photograph by Raphael Warshaw, Goterman Residency. So I want to thank all 5 of those. You can imagine how competitive the process was. It was even difficult to get the number of paintings that we would like to, number of entries we would like to have had, been able to display. I kept begging Nikki to allow me to do more and more, but you know, the reality is there's always space limitations. Another issue that I've had some discussion with textile artists about is the difficulties of them to actually do good slides, as well as issues about the ability to protect the textiles from being touched. So those are some of the limitations that we do have. So the format for our discussion this evening is going to be, I'm going to make a few comments about the 3 paintings that I've selected for cash prizes. Then afterwards, I'm going to ask each artist one question to get the conversation started. I wanted to point out at the bottom of your screen is a chat button. Please put in any questions or comments you would like, and we will leave time at the end of the program to address those questions. We would like to get some response from our viewers as well. First of all, I want to encourage everyone to come into the Hill Center to actually see the exhibition. It's a totally different experience in terms of looking at digital images on your computer versus being able to come in and to really have a personal relationship with the paintings in terms of really being able to see the details, the vibrant colors, the brush strokes. And so I really want to encourage everyone to do that. And what you need to do is go on the website. You can locate the phone number, call and make a reservation. We want to make sure that it's going to be a safe experience for our viewers. If you do come when you do come to the Hill Center, when you get off on the 2nd floor, if you go to your right and walk down the hall, there are 2 galleries. And I wanted to point this out because it ties into the next prize that I'm going to award. There are 2 galleries there, and it's a gallery of all portraits. When you're there, you can really get a very historical overview of the historical canon on portraiture. There are examples of the traditional studio practice of painting from the model. There are examples of using your camera as a tool to capture likeness of an image. And then there's several contemporary portraits that capture the psychological state and comments on cultural connections. You will realize that the portraits on exhibition are very strong, and the competition was very steep in that category. So I want to begin to talk about the 3rd prize of $350 that was awarded to Jay Duran. The painting is called Maddie, if you could bring that up on the screen. Okay, so for Maddie is an acrylic painting of a portrait. It's 36 by 46 inches, and it was painted in last year, 2021. I'm very interested in the choices Jay made in creating for Maddie. His response to the painting, I'm curious about his response to the painting in terms of exploring artistic intention and how he handles paint and a palette knife to create structure. When I look at this portrait, I'm reminded of artists like Paul Goodnight, Faith Ringgold, and Jennifer Packer's approach to portraiture. Not so much in their style, but in their use of color and their creative vision and their contemporary approach. I like how Jay places the broad brush strokes to define form, to create a sense of dimensionality. You'll notice that the left side is brighter, the right side is darker. I like the placement of the color and building peaks and valleys, rendering of the light and dark to create contrast and tension. I want you to notice the variation of the treatment of the texture of the hair, the face, and the delicacy of the clothing. for me, in viewing Maddie, I think of the phrase, the eyes are the window to the soul. Maddie is a person I wish I could have known. I wonder why the artist chose to memorialize her. I sense inspiration from the community, homage to ancestral roots, and emotional connection to people, place, and culture. Congratulations, Jay.
Thank you.
Okay, so next I'm going to move to Cheryl Foster. The painting is called Golden Crows. It's getting the second place award of $500. And one of the things, a note that I wanted to make is that when I first saw this image for the first time, I was very struck by the fact that this was a very high quality digital image. I knew when I first saw it, I knew that it had to be an exhibition. I thought the colors were very true to the actual painting. You can see lots of details in this digital image. And I just want to point out, this is something I think that artists really need to pay attention to. Not that you have to have a professional photographer. In this day and age, you can use your phone, but I think I would really highly recommend that you compare the digital image to the actual work before you submit it, to make sure the colors are pretty true to and accurate in terms of the painting, as well as that you can really see the detail. Unfortunately, there's situations where the work could be very high quality work, but because of the digital image is so poor that sometimes it's not accepted in a jury show. So just keep that in mind. Okay. So a couple of comments. Yeah, a couple of comments that I would like to make about this painting is that I really love how Cheryl creates perspective and a sense of movement and rhythm. The way I began to look at this image, if you start at the very bottom of the image and you look how the crow's eye really points to the right of the canvas, and then your eye follows up to, and I think part of this image is missing, Evelyn. There, okay. There we go. Thank you. Okay. So the images at the bottom of the canvas are closest to the viewer. And as you move up to the top, the images become larger. So as I mentioned that the crow at the bottom right is facing toward the right, and that forces your eye up to the male image at the very bottom of the page. And if you follow the top of the face, it takes you up to the crow just above his head. And then you follow up to the image of the woman who is juxtaposed within the image of the crow. So you really get this sense of moving from the bottom up to the top, where you're really looking at the sky. You get this magnificent sense of rhythm. You get this feeling of flight. I think there's so many wonderful things that is working in this painting. If you notice the placement of the three crows, they almost form a triangle. So that also takes you up to the top of the image. The male figure and the female figure is really rendered in detail. You get a sense of a real person. You get a sense of weight. You begin to wonder who these people are and what is their relationship to the crows. The female has a painted mask, and you wonder what that's all about. You look at the detail of the wings. Each wing is painted very differently. There's a lot of different texture. The wing of the male points your eye to the right. The wing of the female points your eye to the left and up to the very top to the sky. I think that the spatial dynamics is really striking. I really love the way this artist works with space and composition to create a sense of flight. And I imagine that this is a narrative that's dealing somewhat about what is the relationship of these two images and crows. And we're going to have Cheryl talk about that in a minute. Congratulations, Cheryl. I really had a lot of fun looking at this image. Okay, let's go to the third image. Okay. So this is a painting by Nipun Manda. There are several things I found very interesting about this painting that's called Untitled. First of all, is how the artist uses color. Second, how the artist explores geometric shapes. Later, I'm going to talk about how throughout the painting there's a sense of discovery. And then I want to talk about how the artist uses brush strokes to convey movement. So the first thing that I noticed is a dark circular shape that anchors the painting. And all the geometric shapes kind of whirl around that structure. I stated that throughout the painting there's a sense of discovery. So those white figures that whirled around, I really did not notice that in the digital image when I first looked at that. It really wasn't until I really looked into the painting that I really discovered that. And I thought that it was a wonderful discovery. There's also an image of a fish to your right, up in the upper right quadrant. And on the left, there's some binary, at the top, there's some binary numbers of ones and O's, and I wonder what the meaning of these are. I feel that color is really significant in this painting. I'm fascinated how how the artist, Nipun, uses complementary colors to create movement. I really just stood in front of this painting, observing how the color is used, how the color is more intense in the center of the canvas, and how it's brighter on the sides of the canvas. How the brush strokes, especially on the left of the canvas, the use of the white and the yellow really creates this back and forth movement. How the blue and the orange around that makes that circle really creates a sense of tension. And I just found it very interesting in terms of the energy of the brush strokes that really gave a sense of movement to this painting. So Nipun Mando is awarded the first prize for his mastery of technique, his visual language, his presentation of inner and outer space, and I felt there's a projection of emotional and the psychological. Nipun, congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, so with that, let's start a conversation. Cheryl, let's start with you. I would like for you to talk about your source of inspiration and your working process and what is the meaning of this painting? I think you're muted.
First of all, I am delighted to be here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All
hear
right,
you.
thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. I made a point a few years ago to go to Jamaica. I was there along the eastern shore, living in the fishing villages for about a month. And every morning, the cawing of the crows would wake me up, and they would swoop out of the trees, knocking down mangoes and ackee pods. And that's every morning for a month. And I love the raucous noise I was so impressed by their boldness. And this was one of the images and sounds that I brought back with me. And I think they definitely were my inspiration. I work in a number of materials, but this was done in oils. And I use oils because I can get smooth textures. I can get well, all the colors in the rainbow. And although it does take longer to dry, it's just my material of preference. The two figures are two young people that I met there. We bathed in the river every morning along with the cows, and they were there. We had many hours on the beach talking to one another. So that's my inspiration.
I'm curious in terms of the composition of the painting, is that it's two panels.
Sometimes there's no reason for doing something. It was my preference, not originally, but once I did the sketch on paper, I just thought that that would be something intriguing, and it made you ask.
And is that a regular process of yours? You sketch before you paint?
Definitely. I sketch on paper. I don't use much technology. I'm working at learning that, but I sketch on paper, I shade in, and it gives me an idea of where I'm going. Then I put it on the canvas, and again, with charcoal or pencil, but usually charcoal, and I proceed from there.
Okay. Okay, so for Jay.
Yep, but can I ask Cheryl a question real quick?
Yeah, for Maddie, what was the inspiration and
Okay.
what was the process?
Okay, well,
Talk about your style.
okay, I call myself a modern day impressionist. I like using multiple colors, and I like it's about I want you to be able to see the strokes, the brush strokes, and sometimes I'll use a flat brush, and other times I'll use a palette knife. But this piece, I really love history, history of Black people, and also like history of my family, and there just happened to be these old pictures laying around of some of my family members, and I was really intrigued by the gaze of my great great grandmother, and that was the inspiration for Maddie. And I used a solid blue background because that seems to make other colors pop. And I don't use any like black colors, or I mean black or natural skin tone colors. I try to use I just go by different tones, and like lighter colors. Like I use for highlights, I'll use yellows and pale blues and reds, pinks, and then I use my purples as my black colors. But but that's pretty much it.
Okay. And how does For Maddie relate to your other paintings? Are they similar? Do you usually do single portraits?
Sometimes, like I did another painting of her with her husband. So sometimes I'll have multiple people in the painting. I have another painting I did around the same time of like my grandmother and her cousins. There's like 4 girls in there. So I sometimes I'll put multiple people in there, or I'll just do a single image. But I mainly focus on portraits.
Okay, thank you. Nipun, same question. What was your inspiration for this painting, and how does it relate to your other body of work?
Yeah, sure. All right. First of all, I would like to say thank you, Claude, and also thank you all the Hill Hall Center members, to giving me this opportunity. And it is like it's a wonderful opportunity to showcase, all of the artists from DME. Really thank you so much. And also, my congratulations to all of the winners also then. All right. So let's talk about my process, right? So first of all, my inspiration is nature and mankind. So that's my main inspiration. So my process by creating the artist's most satisfying way is to paint is the combination of abstract and the figure. So this is a combination, I always do by. And the freedom of the abstraction and the emotions the figure can carry with the symbolic potential of the objective world are endless. So my painting operates and hover visually somewhere between abstraction and cognitive, especially from the viewer's point of view. When they see the painting, right, they have to connect, that's what I mean to say, right? Yeah. And cognitive world between the known and unknown, which is also like subjective and objective also at the same time. And my goal is to leave the cognitive space for viewers to fill in and provide a chance to see things in different perspective, to become conscious of the physical relationship to the objects and humanity, to evoke an emotional and intellectual response in my viewers. Right. So this is from my, my point of view, projecting towards a painting, and from the viewer's point of view, so how they take it, I give that opportunity how they can take it, because my painting is so complex, right? And also it's created like in so many layers. Okay. So can I explain about my painting? Is it okay?
Yes.
Okay, good, wonderful, thank you. So all right, so the meaning of the painting is the elements are the elements, especially the colors, the lines, the texture, the abstraction, and the figure, all that, all these are the elements actually, right? So these elements are juxtaposed with biomorphic shapes. Bio is life, morphism, okay, the forms actually. So biomorphic shapes. And the symbolic forms emphasized with the figure in the middle. If you can see in the middle, I think it's better to have the painting, I believe so. Okay, anyway, in the middle, there's a white figure in the middle, right? Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. So in the middle, that expressing the essential connection between the nature and mankind, which are part of the nature through our senses. We can become, yeah, thank you so much. That's wonderful. So this is the one I'm talking about. This is the main emphasis overall the space of the canvas. This is the main emphasis here. You can see the white space. You're right. Okay. So this one is emphasized with the figure in the middle, which is this, the essential connection between the nature and mankind, which are part of the nature through our senses. We can become connected to something timeless and universal. And also I'm showing a clock here that also represents the infinity, which never ends. Okay. And on the other hand, the top right corner, which is here, you can see on the top right corner, the symbolic forms of binary codes and fish represents how the modern society is deeply connected and transcendence of intellectualism. And the emphasis of figure express the aesthetic beauty of the full and empty, looking up and down, stating theology. So especially in this area, there are like two faces you can see, which one is like looking up and other one is looking down towards the infinity. And also I'm juxtaposing with this the binary codes, which is zeros and ones. I hope you all know what is binary codes, right? Okay, so the machine, the computer, whatever the electronic devices we use it in this information age, right? Information age. So the human language, it translates from binary codes to the human language to the alphabets and numbers. So this is how, intellectualism I'm talking about, how we are deeply in sense, right? I'm showing the fish as a symbolic. You can see the fish form here, which is overlapped with the binary codes on the top right corner here. So we are living in like very complex world, right? And very challenging world at the same time, challenging time. So that's what I want to express through my paintings. And overall, you can see this is a society with the geometric forms and biomorphic forms also then, which is the life and the society on the left side here. And these are the biomorphic forms on the other side. I'm not talking about the colors actually. My color mostly it represents energy and aesthetic beauty, right? So that's what it conveys. All right, so overall composition, you can see especially the technique and the process. How I use this is very, it's very challenging. So I try to paint what I believe in the process begins with eliminating the marks or images, which I feel knowing less. Because when I start the painting, I'm like, blank actually. I don't know anything what's happening. When I start, then the painting, it tells me, where to stop and where to continue. So especially in this process, the technique I'm talking about, I eliminate most of the marks and the images, which is like, taking off the paint, and that will create a kind of a feeling. And also, I listen to what the painting is telling me to do so. Rather than imposing my will on the work, in this way, it is my hope that the painting are not driven self-consciously. So mostly they should emerge. Most of the spaces I create, like positive, negative space, that should emerge from more enigmatic, less familiar place in the process of the painting and initiation. So it's very challenging techniques to eliminate some of the marks in the paintings. Sometimes, I use, this is like a mixed media, right? Acrylic, right? Once if you, apply the acrylic paint, it's hard to take it off, right? So eliminating I'm talking about. So sometimes, I use citosol, right? It doesn't, affect the color, the technique. And in some areas also, then I don't even paint. You can see some of the areas it's like in this pure canvas, which is the gesso you can see through, right? On that area, I use charcoal drawings. Okay, then, and I move on, all over the spaces, like with the colors, So once I start, the painting tells me where to stop. Then I stop my painting, and that's my completion of my painting.
Thank you very much. Yeah, one of the things I will mention that, for the application process, we do ask artists to submit artist statements, and I assure you that I did read those. And Nipun, yours was very dense and very complex, but it helped me to really understand your whole painting process.
Thank you.
The next thing I want to ask is, first of all, I realize there are three things you have, there are two things that all of you have in common. One is that you're all from Maryland. And that's it, very interesting. And the second is that this is the first time that each of you have applied to the Hill Center. So starting with Jay, why did you decide to apply for the jury exhibition at the Hill Center this year?
So I guess a few years ago, in 2018, I guess there was a show here. It may have been 2019, 2018 or 2019. I came to a show here, and I was just very impressed with the crowd and the quality of art that was here. And I was thinking I should have my artwork here also. So this year I made it a point when I read I got the information from the East of the River, a newsletter that comes out, and I made sure that I applied. I didn't expect to win an award, but I'm so glad. This is one of my few awards that I've won, and I'm so thankful and grateful for this award.
Well, thank you for sharing your work. Cheryl, why the Hill Center? You're muted.
Sorry. I recently joined the Black Artists of DC, and I think Mr. Magruder sent an email out to, I assume, everyone, indicating this was going to happen. And I love the location, of course, of the Hill Center. It's elegant ambiance, and never dreamed that I would be asked to show there. Then Alex Simpson sent out a notice encouraging everyone to support the show. And that's how I became involved. Never again, I never dreamed that I would be chosen for an award. I'm so grateful.
Okay, well, I'm glad you applied. Nipun,
All right.
how did you hear about the Hill Center?
Sure, sure. Yes. Okay. First of all, some of my artist friends, we were talking about the Hill Center, and also they mentioned that okay, it's like the location is which is in the Navy Hospital, and my son is he's in Army. Okay. And then, so we were just talking actually. Then my son also told, okay, this is a wonderful opportunity, right? To showcase going into the Hill Center. Then I started watching, so many events like musical, culinary, and visual arts. Okay, so many things. Then I found very interesting. Then, I thought, okay, this is like, this is a real place, like, happening in Washington D.C., right, and supporting all of the artists. Imagine that if there is no stage for, if there is no stage or there's no platform for the artist, where the artist will go, right? So then I thought, okay, Hill Center is like in a very interesting place. And since also I did like so many jury shows in Washington D.C. and nationwide, international wise also. Then I so somehow the thought came to me. All right, let's apply, okay, and see what happens. And finally, the magic happened with the good people, with the positive energy, and I really appreciate that. Thank you, very much, and I'm really honored to be in this show.
Okay, one last question. Uh, Artists are always trying to figure out how to have a career as an artist. Now, Cheryl and Nipun, I know that you're both educators. Jay, you just retired. And I'm wondering what advice would you give to a young artist who's just starting in terms of how to balance a 9 to 5 and still produce their work?
Oh, okay. I believe that's directed towards me.
Yes.
Yeah. So your time is limited, but you have evenings and you have weekends, and you just have to fit it in. First of all, you have to fit in time to create work, and then you have to fit in times to show your work at different. I started off at street markets initially, and then I kind of graduated to festivals around around the country. There was a app that I have called Applications, and it announces different shows around the country. So I started applying for those jury shows, and I started getting shows in Atlanta and Chicago and Miami and New York, in different places around the country. And that's pretty much how I got started, because you kind of taking charge of your own career by doing that instead of waiting on gallery representation. You can apply, you can get exposure by going to these different festivals. Most of them cost money, but over time you kind of find out which ones are worth it or not.
Okay. So you're a hustler.
I guess so.
Cheryl, what has your experience been?
I'm a hustler. I remember, let me first, the question was, what advice would you offer someone who is trying to get into the field?
Right.
And I would suggest that every day you take a chance. Get out of your comfort level. Don't be afraid. Throw those fears away. When I was in college, Howard University, Bisons, I worked in black and white. My thesis, black and white. And it wasn't that, oh, I just love, black and white. I was doing my Charles White thing. No, I was afraid of color. And I really had to force myself to face my fears and jump in. I mean, what was I going to lose? And now I just can't get enough color. And then I would suggest that you find some quiet, still time every day, preferably in the morning. Get your day organized and just lower the volume of your day so that you can hear yourself and hear your thoughts and feel what's in your heart. And apprenticeships are not a bad word. If you want to do to learn processes that perhaps you're not familiar with, most artists are willing to sit down and talk and share the information and the skills that they have. And I teach through the Kennedy Center's education department. I've been doing this for 30 or 40 years. And I believe in allowing students, giving them an opportunity to use different materials. You may be a sculptor one day, you may be a painter the next day, watercolor. The younger kids, maybe not oils, but there is life beyond cardstock and construction paper and crayons. And they need to know that early. Just know how those materials feel in your hands and how you can manipulate them. And the more you play with materials, the more comfortable you become in manipulating them to do your bidding.
Okay. Thank you. Nipun.
Yep. All right. So my personal history, the experience with the juried exhibitions. I've been selected to so many juried shows nationally and internationally, especially with the galleries and Museum of Art, with the Queen's Museum. I'm talking about in New York, the Queen's Museum, and also the jury shows with Parks and Planning Commission. Recently, my jury show was with the Finding Homes at Harmony Hall, and also BMRE. That's BMRE is a Biennale with the University of Maryland University College. That's my recent show. And also, I did also select some of the international shows, Florence Biennale, Art Expo, New York, Spectrum Miami, and Art Basel, and Affordable Art Fair, London. Especially that was like challenging time at the time in 2020. The COVID was like rising at the time, and luckily we were like able to came back to home, and from there everything has been transformed into digital. Okay, and yeah, and that was like very challenging. And also, I want to give a advice to the young artists. I always say that don't give up. Okay, the road is very long and it's very challenging. And take the opportunities, keep on working, be creative always, right? Using different materials and using different techniques, different medias, and take an opportunity how to use the space. The space could be three-dimensional or the space could be a two-dimensional. That's a very challenging part, right? So that's my recommendation for all of the young artists, and especially I teach. I taught studio arts and also ceramics, and so I can see the difference between two-dimensional and the three-dimensional applications and the creation as well. So that's why I tell everyone, okay, always, do not give up. Always, be proactive, take your time, especially you have weekends or holidays or maybe summer break. Go outside, see the world, see some of the historical places, paint that, get a feel, and finally be creative. So that's my sincere advice for the young artists.
Well, I want to thank all of you. It's great that you're willing to share your personal experiences and thinking through how you establish your career. Uh, I realize we've come down to the end of our time. So I hate to cut the conversation off, but we are at that point. I want to congratulate Jay, Cheryl, Nipun, and I'm looking forward to meeting you at some point, and hopefully you'll be showing at the Hill Center and locally, and I'll get a chance to see more of your art. Haviland, did you have some closing comments?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name's Haviland. I am the programming assistant here at Hill Center. So I, along with Nikki Simrat, who you met at the beginning, we run the galleries here. First and foremost, I just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight for this awesome conversation. It's so great to virtually see so many faces that Claude and I have been talking about and talking with for so long. So just such a joy to talk with and meet all of you. And if you are not an artist, or if you are and you haven't gotten the chance to come into Hill Center, like Claude said in the beginning, I really urge you to come in and see the work in person. It's such a lovely experience. I see the work every single day when I come into work, and I feel very lucky for that. It'll be up at Hill Center through June 4th, so you've still got lots of time. And I also want to tell all of you that the Capitol Hill Restoration Society is going to be doing their home and garden tour this May on Saturday and Sunday, May 7th and 8th. So while these tours are happening, Hill Center's building, and therefore our galleries, will be open for people to come in and view the galleries for a set number of hours. So we were really sad because this exhibit started in January. It really started at a peak in the pandemic with the Omicron variant. So we were not able to host an opening reception for these artists, and they really deserve one. And usually opening receptions are just such a fabulous time at Hill Center for artists to meet and mingle and, you know, talk about their work. So we were really sad we weren't able to do that due to the pandemic. So being open while these tours are happening is going to be really great exposure for the artists that they would normally get from a reception. So more details about this opportunity and the reception is going to be sent to the artists, but it is Saturday, May 7th from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. and Sunday, May 8th, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. And you don't have to have a ticket if you want to come in and, well, you do have to have a ticket if you want to do the home and garden tour. And if you want to do the full tour, it's a really fantastic thing that the Capitol Hill Restoration Society does, and you can purchase a ticket through them. But you don't need a ticket if you just want to come into Hill Center and view the art at that time. Normally, you have to have a viewing appointment to come in. So having full access to the building for these dates and times is really awesome, and we're looking forward to it. So yeah, that should be all. And thank you all for joining us again tonight. And thank you, Claude, and thank you, Nikki. And also, this conversation is being recorded, and it's going to be posted on our YouTube channel and shared out as well. So if you have family, friends, followers who wanted to see it and were able to be here tonight, they'll be able to do so. So thanks all, and have a great night and have a great weekend.
Good night,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And you all take care and stay safe.
You too.
Thank you.